Hello, everybody. Great to be with you. My name is Michael Millerman, millermanschool.com. Today, I thought we'd play around with this new AI program that I saw on one of my feeds this morning. And the way it works is you feed it a prompt, and it makes, by default here, an 8-slide presentation. So I prompted it, and we'll do a couple of these together, just see for fun how it turns out. I prompted this one with the question, why do modern civilizations collapse? So let's see what it put out. The end of the modern age, why civilizations collapse. Oh, it always has this summary slide, factors and so on. And I think the images, if I'm not mistaken, they are generated by Dolly, which is kind of cool. So factors of collapse. Civilizations can collapse for a variety of reasons, ranging from environmental disaster to human error. Understanding the underlying causes of collapse is key to preventing it in the future. Environmental stress. Environmental stress can be a major factor in the collapse of a civilization. Climate change, deforestation, desertification can lead to a breakdown of agricultural systems and a decrease in resources. Without adequate resources, a civilization can quickly fall into decline. Political instability. Well, there's a nice image. Political instability can also be a major factor in the collapse of a civilization. Poor governance, corruption, and a lack of strong leadership can lead to a breakdown of law and order. Without a strong system of law, a civilization can quickly descend into chaos. Economic instability can also contribute to the collapse of a civilization. A lack of resources, a weak currency, and a volatile market can lead to a breakdown of the economy. Without a strong economy, a civilization can quickly fall into decline. Social unrest. So I guess it's just pulling these common factors, generating these AI images to go along with them. We get anything interesting out of this? Preventing collapse. Understanding the underlying causes of collapse is key to preventing it in the future. Well, whatever. That was pretty anodyne. What prompt would you like to put into this tome or tome.app AI for it to create for us a presentation? Let's see if it can do anything impressive. I did give it some prompts earlier today, which were kind of fun, and I thought it came up with something nice. But what would you like to see here? What should we ask this to produce for us and find out whether it is any good at it? Well, let's not do anything vulgar. So what do you say here? What can we put in here? How about, let's see, what do we like to talk about here? Multipolarity, Strauss, Heidegger, Carl Schmitt. How about, I gave it a prompt earlier about the virtues of right-wing anti-liberalism, which is one of the essays that I've written before. And this particular AI, it conflated or confused liberal conservatism, like free markets and all of that, with anti-liberal conservatism, which isn't very helpful. I think it needs to be trained on some new materials, for example, like not as an endorsement of the work, but so that the AI has at least some, whoops, hold on. How do I get back to where we were? So that it has some more rigorous conceptual distinctions. If you've ever seen this work right here by Arthur Müller Vandenbroek, this is published by Arctos, Germany's Third Empire. I like works like this, not again because we necessarily share all of his conclusions and want to buy into all of his analysis, but if you look here at what this work is and how it's carved up, you see revolutionary, socialist, liberal, democrat, proletarian, reactionary, conservative. So you have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 conceptual political categories here that Arthur Müller Vandenbroek distinguishes. By the way, from what I understand, a prominent translator of Dostoevsky into German. But you have these 7 political categories that he distinguishes. Just like Dugin, for example, in the Fourth Political Theory, distinguishes varieties of conservatism, liberalism, and leftism. What I like about that is that we have an impoverished conceptual tool set today, as a rule, because basically everybody's called a fascist. Or if you're not called a fascist, you're called a groomer or something else like that. Not that there aren't groomers, and not that there isn't fascism, but it's somehow not a conceptually rich enough way of delineating the political landscape, people's different opinions and all of that. So maybe if the AI had been trained on something that provides more distinctions, then it wouldn't say that right-wing anti-liberalism consists of a defense of free market values or something like that. But anyway, we have all of the well-known limitations of existing AI, and nevertheless, it's kind of fun here. So I'll show you what I did earlier. I said, do a presentation on the relationship between. Oh, can you see this on? Can you see what I'm writing on your screen? I think I have to put it up a little bit, right? Oh no, you can. The relationship. Do you see what I'm writing on the screen? Can you guys just let me know? Because I've got so many windows open here that I can't quite see whether you can actually view the prompt. So the relationship between ontology and politics depicted through tarot cards. This was a kind of prompt I gave it earlier today, which I thought was kind of interesting. You maybe have seen a video on my channel before where I do like a Straussian political philosophy interpretation of some of the cards of the tarot, just for fun. Well, the AI also has its own take on how this works. You're going to see in a minute here, it's populating the 8 default slides, title slide, a table of contents slide, and these other ones. And it should have some nice images coming up along as well. So let's see. The Politics of Ontology, a Tarot Tale. I think this is just exactly what I had earlier today when I did it, but let's look. And again, it's kind of neat. If I'm not mistaken, these are DALL-E generated images. So in principle, I think, right, one of a kind, not just being pulled from some existing library of stock images. The significance of tarot cards, let's again just see what this ToMe or tome.app produced here. So the significance of tarot cards are an ancient tool used to explore the connection between ontology and politics. No, that's not what they were used for, but that is something that we can use them for if we want to do this kind of domain mapping. The imagery of the cards serves as a powerful metaphor for understanding the relationship between the two, between politics and ontology. The power of symbology. Symbology is a powerful tool for understanding the relationship between ontology and politics. Yeah, that is true. The tarot cards are a symbolic representation of the various forces at play in the relationship between the two. So if we have, even if you think about Ibn Arabi and the creative imagination, which is something that Henri Corbin wrote about. So you can imagine that the tarot cards and other symbolic systems, just think about the realm of images, like the image of the cave and so on. The realm of images mediates somehow between the realm of ontology and the realm of politics. So there should be, in principle, a rich possibility of domain mapping from ontology to politics and back using the realm of images or symbols, as we have here. Again, this is a AI-generated presentation answering about the relationship between politics and ontology as expressed through the cards of the tarot. The tarot cards provide insight into the intersection of ontology and politics. The imagery serves to illustrate the various ways in which the two are intertwined. So you see that's a repetitive slide. I hope at some point the AI becomes sophisticated enough that it can actually draw some of those connections. Of course, we can also make the effort of drawing the connections, as I did in a separate video. Exploring possibilities. The tarot cards, basically it's just repeating the same phrase here over and over again. That's terrible. Look at that. The imagery of the cards can help to explore. Imagery of the cards serves to illustrate. No, that's not good enough. Imagery of the cards can help to explore. That's pretty lame. But I did another version of this prompt earlier. Let's see if I have it saved. Hold on a second. Do I have it saved? How do I see my other projects here? I shared one earlier that was not so horrible, actually. Politics of Ontology. You see, I did some other stuff. SpongeBob, a Straussian analysis. Okay. Zelensky thing, conservative, right-wing anti-liberalism, psychedelic Plato. They were all pretty lame. Okay, the Politics of Ontology. Where's the one I did earlier? It was kind of nice. Oh, here we go. This one's better. Look at this. This one actually draws on the cards. You see, the one that we just looked at didn't. Same prompt, I think, word for word, pretty close. But this one actually uses the cards, which is a much more interesting way of interpreting the question. So here you have the Fool's Journey as a metaphor for the journey of life, and the tarot cards are a powerful tool for understanding our connection to the world around us. Ontology is the philosophical study of being, and politics is the study of how we interact with our environment. Not quite, but okay. You explore the relationship between these two, and then you have all kinds of symbolic interpretations of the cards of the tarot. I just want to say something to you, for those of you who maybe this topic is not so familiar to you. Yeah, the SpongeBob thing. I don't know why. When I did a Straussian analysis of something, SpongeBob popped into my mind. Never watched him, don't know anything about him, but it seemed like the most crazy thing to select on the spot. And I'll show you, the presentation's actually kind of funny. Yeah, what I want to say is that there are people, especially who came out of the French tradition of reading and thinking about Heidegger, who have explored a kind of parallelism between, or not even a parallelism, but a relationship between our political thinking about politics and the political on one hand, and our ontological thinking about being and beings on the other hand. So, you know, sometimes we talk about the political here, sometimes we talk about the ontological, but these guys, they work with the, I don't know how you can put it here, the fact that they're in some way two sides of a coin, or there's a parallelism, or there's a symbiosis between how we think about being and how we think about politics. So here's the rough analogy, or the rough equation for those of you who have seen the previous Heidegger videos, who know some Heidegger. So it's like this. The realm of beings is to politics as the realm of being is to the political. The ontological difference between beings and being is akin to, or somehow isomorphic with, the political difference between politics and the political. So you see, these thinkers, they exploit that parallelism, beings, politics, being, the political, the ontological difference, the political difference. And it happens to be pretty interesting that you can do that. And whenever you somehow shift your thinking about being and beings and that difference, you come out the other side of it with a differently constituted understanding of the realm of the political. Okay, so I wrote my first book basically on that topic, beginning with Heidegger, but the book that helped me to see the problem is called, what's it called? The author's Oliver Marchart. I'll put that in the comments here, like this. And I think the book is called The Political Difference. And he, you see what I meant to write there. And he explains quite nicely how these thinkers, I don't want to pull it up, but you can look it up here, okay? It's a nice book, well worth reading, and you think about that type of difference between ontology and politics. So it's not like we're putting two things together that don't belong in any way together, like guitars and, I was going to say, I'm looking up here, I have a guitar on the wall. I'm looking over there, I have my kids' colored pencils. I was going to say like guitars and colored pencils. But then I remembered that there was a YouTube video, like, I don't know, 6 months or a year ago, of a guy who made a guitar out of colored pencils. So that's maybe not the best example. But in any case, political ontology is something that is worth digging into and poking around in. So when I prompted this AI to tell me about the politics of ontology using the cards of the tarot, okay, the tarot part might be weird, although I've tried to convince you earlier that it isn't. But if you didn't know that there's any relationship between politics and ontology, for sure there is. Let's see. Let's go back here for a minute. And you know, someone said I should pull up Chat GPT and see how it does philosophy. We can do that in a minute. Just this morning, somewhere on LinkedIn, someone posted this right here. Oh, actually, I know who posted it. Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. He posted that this new AI, I guess I should have it on screen for you, right? This new AI program came out. And what it does, as I said at the start, is that it does presentations based on a prompt. So let's put a prompt in here. What can we say? How about something about Dugin? Would that be interesting, just to see whether it has any competency? Create a presentation about Putin's brain. Obviously, okay, we know that's just the name of an article about him that was written in Foreign Affairs in 2014. I exploit it for the title of my Dugin book, but whatever. Putin's brain, Alexander Dugin. We're having some fun here, okay? Not every stream has to be an hour and a half deep dive into Heidegger's basic concepts, right? I thought we could just explore something here. So let's see. What do we have? The AI generating. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. I write a quick prompt. I mean, okay, everything we do online is amazing. The fact that we're here together, the fact that I'm streaming. I press a button and You can see me and I can see your chat. Okay, it's all amazing. But nevertheless, this one's the new shiny toy. So let's see. The brain of Putin, Alexander Dugin. Platform, legacy, impact, future. By the way, I think this kind of thing, it can be useful. No DALL-E prompt, no DALL-E generated images of, that's sad. Could have been nice, you know, we could have seen some nice pictures there of Putin and Dugin. Well, we'll try to get it to spit out some images. That's one of the best parts, one of the most fun things about this. But I did want to say, oh, is it working? Okay, maybe it's generating one now. Not so easy. But I wanted to say, look, these tools, they can be useful in giving you ideas about how to structure a presentation or what you might be missing. I don't necessarily think that it's so bad or so trivial to, from time to time, use these for ideas or like we're doing here for fun. Okay, so Alexander Dugin is one of the most influential political thinkers in Russia today. His influence is largely due to his close relationship with Vladimir Putin. Seems like not necessarily the best characterization, but he's been a major force behind the shaping of Russian foreign policy, the reemergence of Russia as a superpower. Some things about his Eurasian ideology, which seeks to unite the Slavic and Turkic peoples of Eurasia into a single unified state. Let's see. Anything super exciting here that we couldn't have gotten much better in another context? Well, I was really hoping for the pictures above all. So, well, look, I'll show you something that was kind of neat. Again, this is the first thing. Well, this is kind of lame from one perspective, but again, I sort of just popped it in there pretty quickly. So I gave it a prompt. Okay, it's Hanukkah. So people are celebrating Hanukkah. One of the things you have in Hanukkah is a menorah. And I think my prompt was like, a menorah is kissed by a bird or something like that. Okay, just trying to think up something kind of crazy, something that is something kind of crazy and related to Hanukkah. So it spit out this story, which was pretty decent. A mysterious menorah stands tall and proud, its flames flickering in the night. A curious bird perches atop the menorah, watching and waiting. The bird leans down and gives the menorah a gentle kiss. Ooh. As the kiss touches the menorah, a magical transformation begins. This is like young adult. Okay, the menorah's flames become wings. Its base turns into a body. Candle holders become a tail. Look at that. That's beautiful. If these are really DALL-E generated images, never before seen, never before drawn, generated on the spot, you can think what you will. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's pretty impressive. Okay, look at that. Just look at the images. You can go in here. This is totally free to use. TOME.app. Write in your own ridiculous prompts, whatever. Okay, that's not too special. We've all seen birds, but whatever. You get the idea. It's fun to play with these AI things. Let's go to the GPT and see what is going on here. Let's do the GPT chat. 1 second. This is not pre-record. What does pre-recording live streaming mean? This is just me live streaming right now. What are we at? 11:49 Eastern Standard. Well, let me go to Chat GPT and see if we can do anything fun there. Again, guys, I hope you're not bored out of your minds or anything. We did a lot of Heidegger recently. We did a lot of other things recently. We did some article readings. We did Fukuyama. I have something else here I want to discuss too, something more substantive, but I thought, we could have some fun with AI together as well. Why not? Hassan, nice to be with you. So here we go, Chat GPT. How do I do it so that you can see the actual prompt on screen? That would be cool, right there. And it's pretty amazing if you haven't used this tool. Again, it has its limitations, needless to say. There are so many things that it doesn't do well that you could do much better. But like, I teach in a school and I tested it. For example, watch this. The way that I teach Leo Strauss, Plato, Heidegger, it's not something that GPT is necessarily going to be very helpful with. But if you were doing just something completely simple in another context, look at this. Design a three session intro seminar on Descartes. Yeah. Design a 3-session intro seminar on Descartes. So it takes that prompt and look, it doesn't do the work for you, but it can give you something to work with in a kind of helpful way, I think. If you're not a super specialist, you're not a super expert, you know what I'm saying? You're not You don't have to do like the graduate level or even the very advanced undergraduate level. You just want to have something introductory. Look at this. Even gives you some tips on, okay, some of it's overly general, but still, okay. What you could focus on, Descartes' argument for the existence of God, this, that, and the other thing. So anyway, whatever, ChatGPT, what do you guys think? I've seen people use it to do like let's see, like create a movie scene. I'm not inventive enough to do these great prompts. So if you guys want to throw one up here, let's say create short dialogue between Socrates and Jesus. Can we do that? Is that too? Maybe not. Between Socrates and who should we have Socrates talk to in this GPT generated short dialogue? Between Socrates and what do you say? Just don't do Shakespeare, because I've seen so many Chat GPT Shakespearean versions of this or that. Not a big fan. Let's say between Socrates and, well, I want you to make the suggestion. Set it up. Who would we like Chat GPT to show us having a conversation with Socrates? Honestly, frankly, okay, if it could pull off Larry David, I would be pretty happy with that. Larry, what is the nature of truth? Larry David, truth? What are you talking about, Socrates? Socrates, I'm talking about that which is real and objective, independent of our perceptions or beliefs. Do you believe in such a thing? Larry David, I don't know. It's hard to say. Socrates, why is that? Larry David, well, it just seems like everything is so subjective. What one person thinks is true might not be true for someone else. You see, this isn't very good. Where's the comedy? Where's the comedy? This is kind of funny. Socrates, but that's the beauty of philosophy, Larry. No, this is no good. You can't use this for anything. This is horrible. Larry David, I see what you're saying, Socrates, but sometimes it's just easier to go with my gut. No, Larry David doesn't go with his gut. No, this is horrible. Okay, never mind. Veto. 2 thumbs down. Don't do any thumbs down on my videos. Some cheeky little bastard already did one, but thumbs up, okay? Can it create a joke? Okay. Create a joke in the style of Zizek. Why was the Marxist philosopher unhappy at the bar? Because he couldn't afford a drink. He was a victim of capitalist exploitation. What do you guys think about that? Is that funny? Create a joke in the style of Woody Allen. These are basically the only 2 comedians that I know, Zizek and Woody Allen. Why was the philosopher always late to his appointments? Because he was always lost in thought. Boo, the Zizek one wins. Okay, who else is funny? Create a joke or tell a joke in the style of Ricky Gervais. Hopefully this isn't too offensive. It's thinking. Why was the philosopher kicked out of the animal rights group? Because he kept insisting that the pigs were more equal than the chickens. Why does he keep giving me philosopher jokes? Does it know that I've been asking about philosophers here or what? Tell me a joke, not about philosophers. In the deadpan style. Who's that deadpan guy? You know what I'm talking about? Stephen Wright. Is it with a V? Stephen Wright. Yeah? A long time ago, I'm not really into comedy, okay? It's not that I don't have a sense of humor. I'm hilarious, but modern stand-up comedy, I don't know. Too busy reading things like this. Does this look funny to you? Leo Strauss. Why isn't it going into focus? There you go. Leo Strauss, democracy, technology, liberal education. Does this look like something you read for a laugh? Okay. Does this guy look like he's ready to laugh? Germany's Third Empire. You read these kinds of books, you know. You need some comedy, you just throw on. I showed you. Woody Allen, Larry David, Zizek. Okay, let's see. Tell me a joke not about philosophers in the deadpan style of Stephen Wright. Oh yeah, the Stephen Wright joke I remember from a long time ago was like, I was driving on the highway and I saw a sign that said rest area 2 miles. And I thought, wow, people around here must get really tired, which is a hilarious joke. Okay. Tell me a joke not about philosophers and the deadpan style of Stephen Wright. I used to play piano by ear, but now I use my hands. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Can anyone confirm, has that joke ever been told? Because to me, that's what I want to know. If it just pulled this joke off some Reddit on Stephen Wright jokes or whatever, okay, it's good if it did it quickly, but That's not bad, right? I used to play piano by ear, but now I use my hands. But it's only good if it's never been told before. Alex writes here that ChatGPT takes my past questions into account. Okay, that's nice. I didn't know that. I haven't really played around with this too much. What else can we ask it? What do you think about the jokes, by the way? How are you rating them? Zizek? Why was the Marxist philosopher unhappy at the bar? Because he couldn't afford a drink. He was a victim of capitalist exploitation. That's not bad. Why was the philosopher always late to his appointments? He was always lost in thought. That's horrible. This one about the Ricky Gervais, terrible. I used to play piano by ear, but now I use my hands. Like I said, it's good if it's never been told before. Let's see. How about give me a maxim in the style. You guys ever heard of this guy right here, Balthazar Gracian? Although he's got enough maxims of his own that we don't really need anymore. Mr. Art of Worldly Wisdom. But let's see. Give me a maxim in the style of Balthazar Gracian. The wise person does not reveal all that they know, but rather uses their knowledge sparingly, as one would use a precious and rare spice. Beautiful. Balthazar Gracian. Can I point it out to you? Let me show you this. This is Balthazar Gracian's Art of Worldly Wisdom. Small little volume. You know, the kind of book where some of the pages aren't even cut yet and you have to cut them yourselves. I don't know if you could see, look how beautiful this paper is. Look at that. Let me show you Balthazar Gracian. You should really know. Look at this beauty. Truth-telling manual, Art of Worldly Wisdom. This is an old, one of my favorite little copies here. Oh, I might as well just put it on the big screen, right? That's probably better. Let's do it like that. Dun, dun, dun. What do we have here? Okay. This is a cool book. I don't remember where you see it. It's not the Penguin Edition 2020 reprint or something. This is nice, okay? 1934. For a reader is in no danger where the man of discernment has discovered a safe port. So it seems to me. All right, anyway, that was my little show and tell. 1 second. Let's do, there was a nice poem on Socrates in the style of Aristophanes. Okay, 1 second. By the way, those of you who haven't, you very much ought to consider reading Aristophanes' play called The Clouds, which, as you may know, is crucial for understanding Plato, and Strauss wrote about it, and it featured into the accusation against Socrates that led to his capital punishment. Okay, so what do we see here? Write a poem about Socrates in the style of Aristophanes. Socratic wisdom flows like a river from a mind that's sharp as a quiver. His words cut like a double-edged sword, leaving all who hear him quite floored. He asks questions that make you think twice, turning your beliefs into dice. That's nice. He shakes up your convictions and views, leaving you with nothing left to choose. But despite all his questioning and doubt, Socrates never seems to run out of ideas and insights to share, leaving us all in a state of wonder and despair. So, if you ever find yourself in need of some philosophical speed, look no further than Socrates' mind, where the truth is always hard to find, but always worth the time. Not quite Aristophanic, but still pretty good, wouldn't you say? Look at that. Turning your beliefs into dice. I like that. He asks questions that make you think twice, turning your beliefs into dice. Huh. Not bad. Not bad. Ask it to write a poem in Old English about the takeover of AI. Write a poem in Old English about the takeover of AI. In days of yore, when AI did reign and computers reigned supreme, the world did tremble and shake as they took over and all did quake. And no longer did humans hold sway as machines did take the stage. The world was changed and rearranged as the takeover of AI was arranged. Boo, look at that. You can't do rearranged and arranged. This is not good. But fear not, for in this new age we have much to gain and much to engage. We can learn and grow and reach new heights as AI guides us through the night. Through the night. I'll read you something about that. So let us embrace this new technology and see where it takes us, you and me. For in this brave new world of AI, there's much for us to see. Horrible. 0 out of 10. I don't know what you thought about it. Terrible. But as AI guides us through the night. Okay, so that reminds me of something that I read recently in this book, Leo Strauss on Democracy, Technology, and Liberal Education, which, give me a second, I'll put the horrible poem back up on screen so that I can find this. This is a passage from Heidegger on the coming night. Okay, so when I saw that word night in the context of a poem on technology, I thought I would read you this, but just give me a second here. I was reading this book yesterday. I like it. Okay, this is a good book so far, but let me just find this passage. Sorry, but I have to find it to read it for you, so I gotta look for it. I think that it's here. Okay, maybe this isn't it, but I'm going to read this to you. Yeah, the approaching tide of technological revolution in the atomic age could so captivate, bewitch, dazzle, and beguile man that calculative thinking may someday come to be accepted and practiced as the only way of thinking. What great danger then might move upon us? Then there might go hand in hand with the greatest ingenuity in calculative planning and inventing, indifference toward meditative thinking, total thoughtlessness. And then man would have denied and thrown away his own special nature, that he is a meditative being. Therefore, the issue is the saving of man's essential nature. Therefore, the issue is keeping meditative thinking alive. Okay, that's a great passage. That's not the one that has anything to do with the night, though. So 1 second. Come on. Where is it? Don't go. Let me find this. Well, if I can't find it in like 10 more seconds, I'm going to stop looking, but it's important. Darn it. All right. Well, the basic idea was that Strauss, who so often is writing in response to Heidegger, taking a stance with respect to Heidegger, and sometimes opposing himself to Heidegger, in this particular passage shares with Heidegger the view that we're in a kind of technological world night. But where's the passage? Whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to look for it because it seems kind of rude. You're all here with me and I'm looking for the passage. Whatever. Let's give it another prompt. So what do we have here? The dice analogy. Yeah, the dice analogy was a good one. Can I put the chat on screen? Nice. Love this AI thing. So guys, again, today we're just together, kind of not doing a full Heidegger exposition or a long foreign policy article reading. We're playing with ChatGPT, and then I want to show you this thread and discuss the thread as well. But let's see. Professor, any advice about studying politics as a conservative in a liberal-dominated campus? Honestly, it's difficult. I've been out of the university system in a while because, for a while when I graduated, I worked outside of the institution. Then I founded my own online university where I don't have to worry about it so much. But I understand that things are getting worse. Let me do a separate video, a separate talk, or a separate set of pieces of advice about that on another occasion, because it's a big question. If you're a student, you're studying politics, it's such an important topic. It's an important time of your life. You're spending your time, you're spending your money. You don't want to put yourself into a terrible position with your peers and professionally. And at the same time, you don't want to betray your own principles and your own decency and your own heart and spine. So I don't feel like I can do full justice to that question, except that you should never sell out your principles and you should never sell out your conscience. But but there are ways of being tactful and decent and collegial about it. Let's see. Some other questions here. Ask it whether a new little ice age is starting. Okay, some other things. A nursery rhyme. Hey, a nursery rhyme in the style of Jordan Peterson. That sounds like it could potentially be kind of funny. No disrespect to Professor Peterson, but we're also just trying to have a nice time here. So, write a nursery rhyme in the style. How do you spell rhyme? Rhyme in the style of Jordan Peterson. You guys know you can use this tool. I think it's still free. chat.openai.com. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. She looked up and saw a spider and had something quite profound to say. Do not be afraid of the unknown, for it holds the key to growth and progress. Embrace the challenge and face it head on, and you will find success. That's kind of funny. Could have given this as a joke too. So Little Miss Muffet finished her snack and went on her way. Determined and brave, she faced the world with a newfound sense of verve and play. Verve, nice word, great band. Not the Verve Pipe. Verve, Britpop, Verve. For she knew that life was full of tests, but with courage and determination, she could overcome any obstacle and achieve her true destination. Okay, that was funny. That was pretty good. I think that was pretty good. Let's see. What else can we do here? It's fun. You know, you have to have a little bit of levity, a little bit of entertainment. Not everything has to be so serious. Look at that. Very serious. By the way, not everything has to be levity either. There's a balance between comedy and tragedy. There's a balance between taking things too seriously and not taking them seriously enough. Yeah, let's go back over here. Okay, well, let's get off the ChatGPT for a minute, even though that was pretty fun. Pretty fun. I have to say, I want now to pop over here for a second, and let me just confirm that you can see what I've got on screen. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. So, December 16th, Elon Musk, the man of the hour, at least on Twitter, posted, "Too many people have lost faith in the future. A new philosophy is needed." And I thought that was something that we could discuss and take a look at how other people are responding to it. Because first of all, is it true that people have lost faith in the future? Do we have a future that inspires us? Is there a vision of the world to come that people can get behind? Or is it like Peter Thiel said? What did he say the alternatives are? Environmentalism, a green utopia, that's one vision of the future. Islamic fundamentalism, that's another vision of the future. And whatever the third one, do you remember what he said the third vision of the future was? Also not super inspiring. Well, have people lost faith in the future? What is a future that inspires you? For example, maybe a world of longevity, a world of no disease, a world of no scarcity. A new philosophy, at any rate, is needed, he said. So, look, there are, like 100 million replies to this. So for sure, there's no chance that we're going to be able to go through all of them. But I did want to get you to comment about this. Is a new philosophy needed, or is just a return to old philosophy needed? Is it like Heidegger said, that our job is just to catch up to the Greeks? In other words, if we properly understand our future is still the old Greeks who lie ahead of us, so far ahead of us that the task is to catch up? Or is that, let's say, one among several other alternatives? What is a philosophy of the future? What risks are we facing? Are we risking the destruction of man's essence through the unlimited, boundless expansion of technological conquest of nature, and therefore also of human nature? And is Musk's idea that the philosophy of the future is to have as its pillar space travel just going to contribute to man's ever-growing alienation from himself and from the world? Or, by contrast, is that going to be like the wild, wild west, the broad expanse of horizons that we can now go and conquer, and once again have a feeling of ourselves as people who can make a meaningful dent in the world, people who are not bound by any constraints and limitations. So this is worth thinking about. Obviously, it's stated here, it's helpful that Musk put out the question because of his popularity, because of his influence, his sway, and his role at Twitter. So, and not only in Twitter, obviously in these other companies too. So too many people have lost faith in the future. Yes or no? A new philosophy is needed. Yes or no? And what might it be? So I wanted to take a look actually together with you what people are writing in response to that. Obviously, some people using it as an opportunity to promote their own works because clearly people have thought about this, right? They've thought about faith, they've thought about the future, and they've thought about the ideas that'll get us through. I incidentally, just to let you know, full disclosure, I also used this to promote Millerman School because I said, let's do an essay contest about it and I'll put some money behind it. Not like he needs my money and not like I have enough to really make it meaningful. But anyway, let's see. So the philosophy should be something like anything is possible if you dream it, plan it, and work it. The perpetual victim philosophy has to stop, as does the woke social media savior philosophy. What do you think? How important is that? Is the loss of faith in the future and the need for a new philosophy of the future, is it connected with the dominance of a new perpetual victim mentality as opposed to the view that anything is possible? Is that what's missing? Is that what would make the difference? Someone here says, I lost faith in NASA and human space exploration until I met you. There's one thing missing though from this that I wanted to show you, which is, here it is. Musk, I wanted to connect these two things so that we can see them quite clearly, okay? It's not just that he says too many people have lost faith in the future, a new philosophy is needed. It's also he says what he thinks it should be. I believe it should be curiosity about the universe, expand humanity to become a multi-planet, then interstellar species to see what's out there. The people that I write about and that I teach, like Heidegger and even Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik, Strauss, they're all wary of a one-sided over-focus on what's quote-unquote out there. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If it comes at the expense of alienation of human nature, distortion of human essence, or even, destruction, technological destruction of the world. Uprootedness of man. But maybe humanity finds its telos, maybe humanity finds its perfection or its evolution, its advancement, in somehow shedding its skin, so to speak. I don't think these questions are so easily answered. Not at all. Okay, but a philosophy of the future, according to Musk, should have something to do with curiosity about the universe, expanding humanity to become multi-planet, interstellar. So what did some people write about it? Philosophy then versus philosophy now. Okay. Sculpture versus emoji. Well, they're both thinking, and that's really the bottom line, isn't it? Or embracing an old one. So do we need a new philosophy, or do we need new access to quote unquote old philosophies or old philosophy? Here, this person writes, a new philosophy to make our lives longer and healthier. No one will ever care or give a damn to explore other planets or planetary systems if they start a travel they will never see finished. If people live thousands of years, that would be another story. So let me ask you, I know people who are interested in longevity as the key to a philosophy of the future, health, well-being, overcoming disease. So Travis commenting here, Elon Musk quote sounds like something a 16-year-old stoner would say, not interesting at all. As I say, because of his popularity, his position, his role, as somebody who's leading the conversation as the owner of Twitter and all of that, it's true that it may not be more sophisticated at first glance than what a 16-year-old stoner would say, but we nevertheless can think about it and use it as a prompt for ourselves to understand, well, do we have a faith in the future? What does that mean? What are you hoping for from the future? What are you hoping for from the future? What can we hope for from the future? Well, one thing for sure would seem to be overcoming of disease, possibly longevity, possibly overcoming scarcity, right? Some people have visionary expectations for the future. Leo Strauss once said we should guard against visionary expectations and against an unmanly refusal to engage with political realities as they are. So neither the sort of utopianism nor the resigned nihilism, but work within what's actually possible in a human life where we're still generated by sun and the man, still are born and still die. It's not about philosophy, this person writes, Scott Santhons. It's about what people are free to think about beyond survival. So long as so many of us are just focused on meeting our basic needs, our minds aren't free to think about the other stuff. So this is a pitch for universal basic income. Is that like, how important is a change in the basic economic system for hope for the future and for quote unquote philosophy of the future? If we're a space exploring species, but a very small percentage of people is able to go out there and explore, and the rest of the people have to be here and suffer with low income and bad quality of life, is that a future that's inspiring to people? John here writes, we can explore space, but if we don't heal the human condition, we will just bring our dysfunction with us. Wherever you go, there you are. So let's heal our inner world as we explore the outer world. This idea that somehow to be fully human means to be involved in two projects simultaneously. The project of being out there as a pioneer, exploring, conquering, building, creating, and all of that. And at the same time, the project of understanding yourself, understanding the still small voice, being related to God, or however you want to think about that, okay, the realm of the inner man. So if we collapse the human experience only into the realm of the inner man, then suddenly we're not building, creating, exploring, and we have an amputated soul in some way. And vice versa. If all you're doing is out there, exploring, conquering, you uproot yourself from yourself. You destroy your connection to the still small voice. So I think it's Paulo Coelho. Is that how you say his name? You know who I mean? The guy who wrote The Alchemist. He has this nice story that I once read, and it stuck with me when I read it. It's a parable, and maybe if someone wants to pull it up and shoot out the link, that'd be nice. But it's a parable about a boy in a king's palace. And he goes to see the king, and the king gives him a spoonful of milk. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Okay? I think this is how it goes. Or a spoonful of oil. Something like that. Okay, gives him a spoonful of oil, let's say. And he tells the boy, walk through the palace and enjoy the beautiful paintings and the incredible sculptures and statues and just soak it in. Go and spend the day exploring my kingdom. And the boy comes back to the king at the end of this day of exploring the kingdom. And the king asks him, what did you see? He reports on it. He relays, he's astounded. It's amazing, beautiful, majestic, incredible, and all of that. And then the king asks him, well, show me your spoon. And the boy no longer has the oil in the spoon because as he's walking around the king's palace, he's not paying attention. And drop by drop, little by little, or maybe all at once, he spilled the oil from the spoon. So the king tells him, look, here's some more oil for your spoon, but now I have another task for you. I want you to spend the day making sure that you don't drop any oil. And so, the boy does that. He comes back to the king's palace and he comes back to see the king at the end of the day, and he's got all the oil in the spoon. He hasn't dropped a drop of it. But the king asks him, did you see, throughout the day, did you see this amazing thing that was happening? Did you catch that? Did you witness this? And the boy says, no, I didn't see anything because I was so focused on the oil. Okay? You see what I'm saying? And then the king says something like, well, wisdom is being able to truly appreciate all of the majesty and marvel of the king's palace without dropping any of the oil from your spoon. Okay, there's a short story, The Parable of the Oil in the Spoon or something by Paulo Coelho. So that's like, there's this worry that if you're going to make your philosophy of the future all about exploring space, all about being interplanetary species and all of that, you're like exploring the king's palace in that sense. But we want to make sure we don't spill the oil in the spoon. We want to make sure we don't lose what's uniquely precious about a human life, what's near and dear to us in a human life, not just what's way out there. It's a nice story. It's a nice story, and it's an important duality in man. I have a course on Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik's book, The Lonely Man of Faith, which discusses that particular duality and warns us against the risk of succumbing too one-sidedly to the laudable impulse towards space exploration and space conquest at the expense of the inner life of faith. Okay, so what are some other comments here on, obviously in the chat as well, but in this thread on Elon Musk's idea about us needing a new philosophy of the future because we no longer have faith in the future. By the way, do you have faith in the future? Why do you, or why don't you? Does the future look bright to you? Does it look dark to you? And if it looks dark, is it because we don't have a philosophy of the future, or is it because, you know, the everyday things, don't have enough money, trying to make a living, you know, don't necessarily have someone you love, or someone you love just died. You know, there are a lot of reasons why the future can darken for us that aren't necessarily associated with the idea of a philosophy of the future. Each one of us has some set of hopes, desires, expectations, and fears that are given not only from our ideas about the way the world will be 1,000 years from now, 100 years from now, or 10 years from now, but that are, you know, an extrapolation of our own personal trajectories to some extent. A new renaissance is needed, somebody writes here. Exploring space is exciting and noble, but I also think we should make this planet the best it can be. Yeah, do you worry about that at all? That, you know, exploring outer space will come at the expense of improving our world here and now? But isn't that in part the premise of the first part of Interstellar, if I'm remembering correctly? Like banning space flight programs in order to ensure. It's been a while since I watched it. I know there's much more going on to Interstellar, but I remember that being part of the plot. Pamela Geller, I haven't seen her name in a while. Individualism, that's it. Individual rights, no mob rule, no tyranny. I don't know. Does individualism and individual rights inspire you as a philosophy of the future? And do you think that the loss of individualism and the denigration of individual rights, or the attack on individual rights, is the main cause of our loss of hope for the future? Obviously, diehard individualists will think so, that's really the only problem there is to solve. No tyranny of specially designated minorities, equal rights, equality under the law, et cetera, et cetera. Somehow I doubt it. Okay, there's clearly something inspiring to people about the idea that they won't be interfered with, that they can be free to build the future that inspires them. And that, you know, they can only do that when they have individual rights and liberties, when they have a kind of equality under the law. I'm not saying that that's all bogus, but I don't know that people really are, as a whole, inspired by that idea as a philosophy of the future, because it doesn't provide like a grand historical mission or a grand destiny or a grand project. People have to be inspired by something that they can take on as true believers. So let's see some other types of comments here. And again, I ask you, have you lost faith in the future? Why? You know, is this environmental catastrophe and nuclear war and inflation? And, you know, the biggest threat for people like the ones that I study and teach, for example, Leo Strauss, this is a book on him by Timothy Burns, not a book by him, but Leo Strauss, Martin Heidegger, Alexander Dugin, they worry. Their worry is that humans won't have a future because of technology. You have to think about that, because you might say the future for humanity is a technological future. What's going to make our future better is technology. And yet, Heidegger, Strauss, Dugin, they say what's going to deprive the human of the possibility of a future, the possibility of a history, is technology, because technology will destroy the human essence, and it's the human being who is historical. Anyway, it's a subtle, nuanced point, but that's why we read Strauss and Heidegger, because if we already knew everything, we wouldn't have to read it, we wouldn't have to think about it. All right, well, we did some playing around with AI at the start of this. Am I muted or no? No, I don't think I am. We did some playing around with AI at the start of this live stream. A new AI called Tome.app, Tome.app. That was pretty fun. We did some chat GPT, got a nice Zizek joke out of it, a good Jordan Peterson nursery rhyme, which I quite liked. And now we're looking at Elon Musk's idea of a philosophy of the future and a loss of faith in the future. And again, sometimes we do very serious Heidegger readings here, and sometimes we do something a little bit lighter. And I just wanted to spend some time with you today like this, okay? A little bit more casual than usual. So here, we don't need a new philosophy. We need to return to an old one. Now here you have the suggestion, return to the Bible. Elsewhere, you'll have a suggestion, return to Plato and Aristotle. Elsewhere, you'll have some other suggestions. So is the notion of a new philosophy of the future, what do you even think about that idea? I think it's coherent, personally. We need a vision of the future that inspires people, gives them not just the will to live, but, a will to live well, energetically, enthusiastically, all out. Some people blaming the leaders. The philosophy of the future is a function of whether we have leaders who lead or not, whether we have visionaries with visions or not. You actually need to have figures who are like, Can Opener Podcast wrote here, an orchestra is not performed by an individual, but as a conductor, as a composer. And maybe that's what our future is missing, is a conductor and a composer. Paul Corney making corny jokes here. Are we starting a church now? That explains the Tesla stock going down. Elon turned it into a nonprofit. Pretty funny. Wonder whether he had ChatGPT write that. Okay, so this is a nice long thread. I guess we're not going to go through the whole thing, but it is worth thinking about. Okay? And I also like to point out, whenever people who are in business, who are entrepreneurs, who are founders, who are well-known names, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn guy, okay? Other names that you may know, whenever they're talking about philosophy, even if they're not using it in a precise sense, even if they don't necessarily have Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Heidegger, Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, okay, and all of that in mind when they mention it, it does tell us that even the builders and the creators and the developers, they recognize that all of that by itself is not enough. You need this realm of thought. You need something more. You can't just build in the absence of a context that gives you the meaning of what you're building, the meaning. Okay, so I'm lately keen on this theme of the relationship between philosophers and entrepreneurs, philosophy and entrepreneurship. You may have seen, I shared on my community comment page that I did a video yesterday on somebody else's channel, which is now available, on the philosopher entrepreneur, okay, on how we can think about the relationship between fundamental philosophical alternatives on one hand and the future that we need to build, which, founders, entrepreneurs, funders, investors, creators, they're going to have something to do with that. So check out that video. But I think we can probably stop there. Is there anything else that you want to discuss in our last couple of minutes together here? Definitely, if you're watching this now or later, listen, maybe you think this is exactly right. A new philosophy of the future is needed. I believe it should be curiosity about the universe. Expand humanity to become multi-planet, then interstellar species to see what's out there. Maybe you supplement that with we should do ocean exploration, and we should do, the philosophy of the future should be a insatiable desire to know the whole. What's above, what's below. Won't that drive us on? Won't that improve us? Won't that inspire us? It's not easy to know the right stance to take towards the development of technology, because clearly it has so much to offer in terms of quality of life, efficiency of information processing, creative potential, and equally clearly, it has all kinds of dystopian externalities and possibilities, up to and including not just the destruction of the world, the destruction together of the human being and the world. So what role will technology play? I mean, the big thing about Leo Strauss here in this book, the ancients understood that if you have the development of technology without moral and political oversight, without moral and political control, then you risk the destruction of the human being, the destruction of the political community, and the destruction of the world. So given the fact that the technological genie is out of the bottle and we need technology for whatever we're going to be building, how do we do it in a way that doesn't destroy us along the way? And, I know some of you are thinking Neuralink is going to be one step in the direction of the destruction of the human being. So I would love to get your thoughts on that. Feel free to comment in the comments. Great to be with you. Thanks for spending your time. As I say, this was a much more informal, lighthearted stream than our usual heavy lectures, which I will continue to do anyway. So thanks for spending your time here. Great to be with you. millermanschool.com. Please check it out sometime, and see you in the next video.